A new headline has taken social media by storm. Pope Leo XIV responds to Captain Ibrahim Traoré. This news is circulating widely, stirring intense debate across both secular and religious communities. Unlike many rumors, this one involves real figures: Pope Leo XIV, the current pontiff and the first American to hold the papacy, and Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the transitional leader of Burkina Faso. However, despite the authenticity of these individuals, the reported response attributed to Pope Leo XIV appears to be false and unsubstantiated. No official statement or verified communication from the Vatican confirms this exchange. Still, the viral question remains fascinating. What if Pope Leo XIV actually did respond to Captain Traoré? What form would such a response take? What theological, political, and historical implications might it carry for the Catholic Church and African geopolitics? In this article, we explore this unfolding viral story. Not as confirmed fact, but as a thoughtful and reverent examination of what such a papal response could mean, grounded in informed speculation, faith-driven insight, and critical analysis. 1. Who is Captain Ibrahim Traoré and why does he matter to the Vatican? Captain Ibrahim Traoré is a significant figure in contemporary African politics and the transitional president of Burkina Faso, a landlocked country in West Africa that has been facing serious political and security challenges over the past decade. Burdened by recurrent coups, rising extremist insurgencies, and widespread social unrest, Burkina Faso is a country at a crossroads, struggling to maintain stability and rebuild its democratic institutions. Traoré's ascent to power in September 2022 was marked by a military coup that unseated his predecessor. Unlike many transitional leaders who seek quick normalization, Traoré has emerged as a strong nationalist with a clear vision for reshaping Burkina Faso's place in Africa and the world. His leadership is characterized by a pronounced Pan-Africanist ideology, emphasizing the need for African self-reliance and a reduction of Western influence in the region. This stance naturally influences his interactions with foreign powers, international organizations, and even religious institutions that have long-standing presences across the continent. Why does this matter to the Vatican? The Catholic Church, under Pope Leo XIV's leadership, views Burkina Faso as a key territory in its spiritual and humanitarian mission in Africa. The continent remains home to one of the fastest-growing Catholic populations globally. Burkina Faso, despite being majority Muslim and animist, has a significant and vibrant Catholic community that depends heavily on the Church's pastoral care, education, and social services. However, the nation's fragile political environment and the rise of militant groups have placed both the Church and its followers in precarious situations. Religious communities often become unintended victims in conflicts or find themselves caught between competing political interests. Given Captain Traoré's nationalist policies and assertive stance toward external influences, the Vatican remains attentive to how his governance might affect the Church's ability to operate freely and minister effectively. Any public statements, policies, or actions by Traoré that touch on religious freedoms, church property, or humanitarian access could directly influence the Vatican's diplomatic and pastoral strategies. Pope Leo XIV's potential response to such developments would not only reflect concern for the spiritual welfare of Burkina Catholics but also signal the Holy See's broader commitment to peace, human dignity, and interreligious dialogue in regions marked by turmoil. In this light, Captain Ibrahim Traoré is more than a transitional political figure. He is a pivotal actor whose decisions carry profound implications for the Catholic Church's mission in one of Africa's most sensitive and strategically important countries. 2. Pope Leo XIV, the first American pope and his global vision. Pope Leo XIV holds the historic distinction of being the first American to ascend to the papacy, a milestone that brings a fresh and distinct perspective to the leadership of the Catholic Church. His American roots, shaped by the country's cultural diversity, its complex history of social movements, and its role as a global superpower, deeply inform his approach to guiding the Church through the challenges of the 21st century. From the very beginning of his papacy, Pope Leo XIV has shown a profound commitment to social justice, making it clear that the Church's mission extends beyond spiritual matters into the realms of human rights, economic inequality, and environmental stewardship. His vision emphasizes the dignity of every human being, especially those who are marginalized, oppressed, or caught in the crossfire of political and social upheaval. One of the defining features of Pope Leo XIV's leadership is his dedication to fostering dialogue, not only among different Christian denominations but also across faith traditions. In a world marked by rising religious tensions and growing polarization, he advocates for understanding, cooperation, and peace-building. This emphasis on interfaith dialogue aligns with his broader goal of uniting diverse peoples in pursuit of common good and reconciliation. Unlike some of his predecessors who might have focused predominantly on doctrinal purity or internal church reform, Pope Leo XIV skillfully balances traditional Catholic teachings with a nuanced awareness of today's geopolitical realities. He recognizes that the Church operates in a complex global arena where issues like migration, climate change, armed conflict, and cultural identity intersect with religious life. This unique combination of pastoral sensitivity and geopolitical acumen makes any interaction between Pope Leo XIV and leaders like Captain Ibrahim Traoré particularly significant. It is not simply a matter of religious communication but also one of political diplomacy and moral leadership. When the Pope addresses a figure such as Traoré, a military leader navigating national sovereignty and security amid regional instability, it reflects the Vatican's engagement with global affairs on multiple levels. Pope Leo XIV's global vision thus situates the papacy as an active player in international conversations about peace, justice, and human dignity. His responses and initiatives often serve as moral compass points not only for Catholics but for the international community grappling with complex challenges. This makes the hypothetical response to Captain Traoré not just a religious gesture but a potential catalyst for broader dialogue and change. 3. Why would Pope Leo XIV respond to Captain Traoré? While no official statement or communication from the Vatican confirms a direct response from Pope Leo XIV to Captain Ibrahim Traoré, there are compelling reasons why the Pope might feel compelled to address such a prominent political figure, especially given the current complexities in Burkina Faso and the wider Sahel region. Understanding these reasons requires a nuanced look at the intersection of faith, politics, and humanitarian concerns. Religious persecution and defense of religious freedom. One of the most immediate triggers for a papal response would be any credible reports of persecution, discrimination, or restrictions against Catholic communities in Burkina Faso. The country's turbulent political environment and the rise of extremist groups have led to increased insecurity, often disproportionately affecting religious minorities and places of worship. Pope Leo XIV, as the spiritual leader of millions of Catholics worldwide, has a solemn duty to speak out when the fundamental rights of his flock are threatened. His response would likely emphasize the inviolable nature of religious freedom, a core Catholic teaching and a principle enshrined in international human rights law. By defending religious liberty, the Pope not only protects his Church's mission but also upholds the dignity and rights of all people, regardless of faith. Appeals for peace and stability. Burkina Faso's ongoing political instability, marked by coups, armed insurgencies, and social unrest, creates fertile ground for suffering, displacement, and loss of life. Pope Leo XIV's role as a global moral voice includes advocating for peace in such troubled regions. A response to Captain Traoré might include an urgent call to prioritize national reconciliation, dialogue among competing factions, and the well-being of the Burkina people. The Pope's message would remind all leaders that peace is foundational to human flourishing and is deeply rooted in Christian teaching. Moral guidance to political leaders. As a spiritual and moral authority, Pope Leo XIV often speaks directly to those in power, reminding them that leadership is not merely about control but about stewardship and ethical responsibility. His response could serve as a profound reminder to Captain Traoré and other political leaders that their authority is entrusted to them for the service of their people, with a special obligation to protect the vulnerable, promote justice, and govern with humility and integrity. This aspect of papal diplomacy emphasizes conscience formation and ethical governance, which transcend mere political expediency. Clarifying church-state relations. In an era where the role of religion in public life is frequently debated and sometimes challenged, a papal response might also clarify the Vatican's position on how the Church engages with governments. Pope Leo XIV might reaffirm the Church's commitment to constructive cooperation with states, provided such collaboration respects the Church's autonomy and the rights of its faithful. This would be especially relevant if political developments in Burkina Faso threaten to compromise the Church's ability to operate schools, hospitals, and charitable organizations that serve millions. Pope Leo XIV's hypothetical response to Captain Traoré would not be a mere political statement but a profound expression of the Church's mission to defend human dignity, advocate for peace, provide moral clarity, and maintain the delicate balance of church-state relations. Such a response would resonate far beyond Burkina Faso, sending a message of hope and conviction to Catholics and global observers alike. 4. What could a papal response look like? Imagining what Pope Leo XIV's response to Captain Ibrahim Traoré might entail requires understanding the hallmarks of his papacy, a compassionate pastoral approach coupled with unwavering moral clarity. His communications typically weave together spiritual guidance with practical calls for justice and peace, reflecting the Church's long-standing mission to serve humanity while upholding divine truths. A call for dialogue and reconciliation. At the heart of any papal response would likely be an earnest invitation for open, respectful dialogue, both between the government and religious communities, and among all societal factions within Burkina Faso. Pope Leo XIV has repeatedly emphasized the power of conversation as a tool for healing divisions and fostering mutual understanding. In a nation fraught with political instability and ethnic tensions, such a call would underscore the importance of inclusive engagement and collaborative problem-solving. The Pope might urge leaders and citizens alike to listen to one another with humility and patience, recognizing dialogue as the foundation for lasting peace and unity. An emphasis on the inherent dignity of every person. Central to Catholic social teaching is the inviolable dignity of every human being, created in the image of God and entitled to freedom of conscience and religious expression. Pope Leo XIV's response would certainly reaffirm this core principle, reminding all stakeholders that respect for human rights is not negotiable, even in times of crisis. This emphasis would address not only political leaders but also security forces and rebel factions, encouraging restraint and compassion, especially toward vulnerable groups such as children, the elderly, and religious minorities. The Pope might call for renewed commitment to protect the fundamental freedoms of all Burkina citizens, affirming that a just society upholds both peace and personal liberty. A plea for peace and non-violence. Given Burkina Faso's ongoing challenges with insurgency and political turmoil, Pope Leo XIV's message would undoubtedly include a heartfelt appeal for non-violence. Echoing the Church's long-standing teachings on peace, he might remind all parties of the devastating human cost of armed conflict and urge a commitment to peaceful solutions. This plea would not only address military and political leaders but also encourage grassroots efforts to build reconciliation and restore hope. The Pope's voice could serve as a beacon of calm amid chaos, inspiring both leaders and citizens to prioritize the welfare of the common good. An affirmation of the Church's role in Burkina Faso. Lastly, Pope Leo XIV would likely highlight the vital role the Catholic Church continues to play in Burkina Faso, not just as a spiritual authority but as a major provider of education, healthcare, and social services. The Church's deep roots in the community position it uniquely to contribute to national recovery and development. The Pope might reaffirm the Vatican's support for the Church's humanitarian efforts, stressing the importance of safeguarding its ability to operate freely and effectively. This affirmation would signal to Captain Traoré and his administration that the Church remains a steadfast partner in fostering human dignity and social progress, even amid political uncertainty. A papal response from Pope Leo XIV to Captain Traoré would likely be a profound blend of pastoral warmth and resolute moral guidance. An appeal for dialogue, respect, peace, and cooperation grounded in Catholic teaching and global humanitarian concerns. It would seek not only to influence political realities but to inspire hope and healing for the people of Burkina Faso. 5. Historical context. How have previous popes addressed African leaders? To fully understand the potential significance of a papal response from Pope Leo XIV to Captain Ibrahim Traoré, it is essential to explore the historical relationship between the Vatican and African political leaders. Over the decades, the Catholic Church has carefully navigated its diplomatic and pastoral roles in Africa, a continent marked by tremendous cultural richness, rapid demographic growth, and complex political landscapes. This history reveals a pattern of cautious yet meaningful engagement, balancing respect for African sovereignty with the Church's mission to promote justice, peace, and human dignity. encouraging enculturation, respecting African cultures within the Catholic faith. One of the transformative approaches of the Vatican in Africa has been its encouragement of enculturation, the respectful integration of African cultural expressions into Catholic worship and practice. This approach, championed by popes such as Paul VI and John Paul II, acknowledges the value of local traditions and languages, allowing the faith to resonate more deeply with African communities. By honoring indigenous customs, the Church affirms the dignity of African identity while fostering a more vibrant and relatable Catholicism. This sensitivity has helped the Church grow substantially across the continent, strengthening its grassroots presence even amid political upheavals. Speaking out against injustice and violence while promoting reconciliation. Historically, popes have taken firm stances against injustice, oppression, and violence in Africa, often calling for reconciliation during times of civil war, coups, or ethnic conflict. For instance, Pope John Paul II was vocal during the Rwandan genocide and various civil wars, urging forgiveness and national healing. Similarly, Pope Benedict XVI and Pope Francis have condemned violence and human rights abuses while encouraging dialogue among divided communities. The Vatican's moral voice has often been a beacon for peace and reconciliation, reinforcing the Church's commitment to protect vulnerable populations and foster social cohesion. Fostering diplomatic relations to support the Church's mission. Beyond moral exhortations, the Vatican has maintained active diplomatic ties with African states to safeguard the Church's ability to minister and deliver essential services like education and healthcare. Apostolic nuncios, papal ambassadors, serve as vital links, negotiating on behalf of the Church to ensure religious freedoms and operational autonomy. This diplomatic engagement helps the Vatican adapt to shifting political realities, promoting collaboration rather than confrontation. The Holy See's pragmatic approach has enabled it to remain a respected and influential actor even in politically sensitive environments. Building on a legacy with Pope Leo XIV. Pope Leo XIV's hypothetical response to Captain Ibrahim Traoré would build upon this rich legacy of papal engagement in Africa but could also introduce new dimensions shaped by his American background and global outlook. His papacy emphasizes dialogue across cultural and political divides, social justice, and an inclusive vision for the Church's role in international affairs. A response from him might set new precedents in balancing pastoral care with diplomatic strategy, potentially strengthening the Church's voice amid the complex Sahelian geopolitical landscape. The Vatican's history with African leaders is characterized by a delicate but purposeful mix of cultural respect, moral advocacy, and diplomatic pragmatism. Pope Leo XIV's engagement, real or imagined, fits within this continuum, reflecting the Church's enduring commitment to Africa's spiritual and societal well-being. 6. Why is this viral news likely false? While the headline Pope Leo XIV responds to Captain Ibrahim Traoré has swept across social media platforms, capturing widespread attention and sparking intense debate, it is crucial to approach this claim with a discerning eye. Despite involving real figures, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the transitional president of Burkina Faso, and the purported Pope Leo XIV, there is no credible evidence or official Vatican confirmation to support the assertion that such a response has been made. In fact, several key factors point strongly toward this viral news being false or at best, a misrepresentation. Lack of verified Vatican statement or credible source. The Vatican is known for its careful and formal communication protocols, especially regarding sensitive matters involving heads of state or significant political issues. Major papal statements, particularly those addressing international leaders or political crises, are released through official Vatican channels, such as the Holy See Press Office or the Vatican's official website. To date, no such release or authenticated report exists confirming that Pope Leo XIV has issued any response to Captain Traoré. Without verification from these authoritative sources, the claim remains unsubstantiated and highly questionable. The nature of social media and viral misinformation. Social media platforms are notorious for the rapid spread of sensational headlines, often with little regard for factual accuracy. Stories that evoke strong emotions, whether political, religious, or cultural, are especially prone to going viral. This particular headline taps into multiple hot-button issues: the leadership dynamics in Burkina Faso, the role of the Catholic Church in African affairs, and the novelty of an American pope named Leo XIV. Such a combination makes it fertile ground for rumor mills and misinformation campaigns. Users may share or amplify the story without fact-checking, further blurring the line between fact and fiction. This cycle can cause confusion among both secular audiences and faithful Catholics eager for guidance, potentially polarizing public opinion and stirring unnecessary controversy. The highly sensitive nature of papal communications. Papal responses to political leaders, especially in regions experiencing turmoil, are typically handled with extreme discretion and diplomatic care. The Vatican often chooses carefully measured language to avoid exacerbating tensions or alienating parties. Any official papal message aimed at a leader like Captain Traoré would likely be delivered through formal diplomatic channels rather than through spontaneous or leaked statements circulating online. The absence of any such formal record or corroborating evidence indicates that the viral news is more rumor than reality. Possible confusions or misinterpretations. It is also possible that the viral headline arose from misunderstandings or misinterpretations of unrelated events, such as general papal statements on peace, security, or Africa, or was intentionally fabricated for political or social media traction. Given the complex political situation in Burkina Faso and the sensitive position of the Vatican, misinformation can sometimes be weaponized to influence public perceptions or agendas. While the story features genuine public figures and taps into real geopolitical and religious contexts, the viral claim that Pope Leo XIV has responded to Captain Ibrahim Traoré lacks any official verification and runs contrary to known Vatican communication practices. As such, it is most likely false, serving as a cautionary example of how viral news can mislead audiences and underscore the importance of critical evaluation in the digital age. 7. What can faithful Catholics learn from this occurrence? While the headline claiming Pope Leo XIV responds to Captain Ibrahim Traoré is almost certainly false, this scenario offers meaningful lessons for faithful Catholics navigating today's fast-paced and often confusing information landscape. Far from being merely a misleading headline, this moment invites believers to reflect deeply on their faith, the role of the Church in global affairs, and the personal responsibility involved in consuming and sharing news. The importance of verifying news before accepting it as truth. One of the most immediate takeaways from this viral story is the critical need for vigilance in verifying information. In an era dominated by social media, where misinformation and disinformation spread at unprecedented speeds, Catholics, and all news consumers, must exercise discernment before accepting headlines as fact. This means seeking out reliable sources, cross-checking claims against official statements, and maintaining a healthy skepticism toward sensational or politically charged content. Faithful Catholics are called not only to nurture their spiritual lives but also to cultivate wisdom in navigating the media environment, thereby protecting themselves and their communities from deception. The role of the Pope as a spiritual and moral guide in complex political landscapes. This hypothetical scenario also sheds light on the multifaceted role of the Pope in today's world. Beyond being a religious leader, the Pope functions as a moral compass and a diplomatic figure engaged with complex political realities. Catholics can reflect on how the papacy balances spiritual guidance with engagement in global issues such as peace-building, social justice, and the defense of human dignity. Imagining how Pope Leo XIV might respond to a leader like Captain Traoré encourages the faithful to appreciate the challenges inherent in this role, especially when addressing regions marked by conflict and instability. It underscores the Pope's unique responsibility to promote dialogue, reconciliation, and ethical leadership across cultural and political divides. The ongoing challenges the Church faces in conflict zones. The viral story brings into focus the continuing struggles of the Church in parts of Africa and other conflict-affected areas. Catholics are reminded that, while the Church grows in membership across the continent, it often faces obstacles such as religious persecution, political instability, and humanitarian crises. This video encourages believers to pray for these communities, support missionary and relief efforts, and advocate for peace and justice. It also highlights the necessity for the Church to engage diplomatically and pastorally with political leaders to safeguard its mission and protect vulnerable populations. Although Pope Leo XIV has not officially responded to Captain Ibrahim Traoré, this viral headline highlights far more than a simple piece of misinformation. It brings to light the complex and ongoing realities at the intersection of faith, politics, and social upheaval in today's world. Behind every viral story lie real individuals, real communities, and real struggles, all demanding our thoughtful attention and compassionate engagement. The situation in Burkina Faso, where Captain Ibrahim Traoré leads amid political instability and security challenges, represents one of many critical contexts where the Catholic Church strives to accompany and support its faithful. For the Vatican, and for Pope Leo XIV as its shepherd, these challenges are not distant abstractions but urgent pastoral concerns. The Church's mission remains deeply rooted in advocating for justice, peace, and the inherent dignity of every human being, particularly in regions where those ideals are most at risk. This viral story, while maybe inaccurate in its claim, serves as a potent reminder that the Church does not operate in isolation from global affairs. Rather, it walks alongside communities facing uncertainty and upheaval, offering spiritual guidance and calling for reconciliation, dialogue, and the protection of human rights. The faithful are thus invited to view such narratives not simply as sensational headlines but as prompts for prayer, reflection, and action. Moreover, this event calls on Catholics and all global citizens to cultivate informed discernment amid an age flooded with rapid, often misleading information. The temptation to accept and share viral content without verification can deepen division and confusion, but it also presents an opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to truth, charity, and patient understanding. Ultimately, the Church's voice, whether through official papal statements or the daily witness of local communities, remains a steady beacon amid turbulent times. Trusting in that true and patient voice calls for both vigilance against misinformation and a hopeful confidence that faith, justice, and peace will prevail. As we continue to navigate the complexities of a changing world, may this what-if scenario inspire us to embrace the realities of our faith with courage, clarity, and unwavering hope. The challenges are real, the people are real, and the call to faith-driven action remains as urgent as ever.